What is going on, everybody? Frugan here, and Borderlands 4 is just around the corner. With it coming about right around the corner in just a couple weeks, we're going to go through the characters, the playable vault hunters that you have this go around, and see who you want to play as. Whether it be Amon, Harlo, Rafa, or Vex the Siren. So I know who I'm going to play as when I first start, and just because you like somebody at the beginning doesn't mean you're going to like them throughout the rest of the playthrough. You want to play them all, get to play used to them a little bit, and see who it is that you truly like and want to play as. So we're gonna go through them, just briefly show off their skills and go through there. If you want a better video of each character, break down their abilities and their skill trees, let me know in the comments below, and we'll go from there. So first off, we got is Amon. So Amon is the Forgeknight, right? Yeah, Forgeknight, who is a tank basically. He's very tanky. He's was raised in a monster person cult until they all died, and now he's seeking revenge. So we got Amon the Forgeknight, and with his first skill, we have the Crucible. You got your flame axes and ice axes. So the crucible is Reddy's forged axes that can be thrown and picked off the ground to refund his cooldown. You can throw a flame axe or a Cairo axe, and each one does the respective damage. So they got the incendiary and the ice damage basically. The enemies damaged by the forged axes are primed for duration and will detonate when they die or damaged by a forged skill dealing damage to nearby enemies. So they'll explode basically. Let's see if we'll get an explosion. There, explosion. Explosions! And the word of Torg. And the next one we have is the Scourge, and that is more of his shield. So, Amon equips a forged shield that absorbs all frontal damage as Vengeance. When the Vengeance meter is filled, Forged Shield provides damage reduction instead. Vengeance drains rapidly if it's not been gained recently. He has a press action skill to launch a Forge Wave, dealing ice damage to enemies it passes through, consuming Vengeance to increase damage dealt. So that reminds me of like the added, like the stuff that gets added onto them all the time. So like Gage's Anarchy. A lot of the characters had stuff like that, so that will increase their damage. I just can't remember them off the top of my head. All right, and the last and final one we have for him is the Calamity skill tree, and it's Onslaughter. The Fist of Fury. He overloads his Forged Fist, gaining constant shield regeneration, bonus incendiary damage with guns, and increased movement speed. You press his action skill or melee to Rocket Punch, dashing to target enemy, dealing incendiary melee damage in a short range cone and causing stagger. Bosses cannot be staggered, and badasses have chances to be staggered. So, bosses can't be, but badasses have a small chance. It doesn't say small or anything like that, but it does have a chance to be staggered. So, it is possible to stagger badasses. So, all in all, we got Amon, the Forgeknight, who would be your tank. So, let's just play this through. Look at this bearded, glorious bearded man. You tell me you don't want to play as a fired ice guy? Come on. Look at that. Look at that bearded gloriness. Bearded goriness. Okay. So, next we're going to go to, let's see, who do we want to do? Just worked on the list. We got Harlo. And Harlo information just got recently released. And she is pretty cool. She reminds me of her skill, the Gravitar, reminds me of Maya from Borderlands 2. Her phase lock ability. That is just so reminiscent of that to me. I don't know if it's anybody else that sees that, but it reminds me of that too. So her first ability is the Chroma Accelerator. It's a creative burst skill tree. It fires an unstable energy pocket from Harlow's Chroma Accelerator. The unstable energy pocket passes through enemies and deals Cairo damage to all enemies it passes near. Pressing action skill causes the unstable energy pocket to explode and deal heavy radiation damage in a large area. Does this not kind of remind you of Maya, her phase lock? Getting the orb, that it can do different types of elemental damage. It very reminds me of that so very much. So I got the Chroma Accelerator. And now we got the Flux Generator. The Flux Generator is Harlo's throws her Flux Generator in front of her, which projects an energy field, dealing ice damage over time, entangling enemies. Allies inside the energy field gain Overshield. You press the action skill to pick up your Flux Generator and toss it again. So you can basically reuse it. Alright, and then we got 0 Point. Bursting your bubble. It is the Seize the Day skill tree. You press action skill to use Harlow's Halo Accelerator to place an enemy in stasis for a duration. Enemies immune to stasis take damage instead. Pressing action skill causes the enemy in stasis to be slammed into the ground in the direction Harlo is facing and creates a small explosion. Explosion! Retriggering stasis has a cooldown. Okay. So she's just a science baddie, I guess. And she's a former Maliwan. But she is, like I said, her skills very reminiscent to me of Maya. Like that in general is Maya. Granted, it was stationary, but it's very Maya-esque. Still badass, honestly. It's still really cool. I like it. I enjoy it. Like, look, like, very versatile, very in your face. Definitely want to give her a try. She's not my go-to I want to play first. And neither is Amon. My go-to is next. We're going to go to the amazing, wonderful Rafa. Like, I mean, come on. Cyber-bladed badass? The Exo-Soldier? I mean, come on. When I saw him, I was like, alright, that is who I want to play. That is what I want to do. I want to be up. I like being up and in your face. And this just slashy. Slash. So this one is the Arc Knives. Looks like this year's gimmick skill tree. Okay. Rafa puts down his guns and equips his arc knives, blades that deal melee damage and mark enemies whenever they damage them, causing them to take increased damage for every mark on them. He can perform melee attacks with Rafa's arc knives, dash forward and perform a shock melee attack, unleash Rafa's Blade Fury, which deals shock damage to all marked enemies and ends the skill. So that doesn't even look like shock. That looks like acid. Like, can you change the elemental of the blades on that with the skill tree? Yeah, I'm gonna have to do a deep dive into each character more, just so we could have a better understanding. Because that looks like you can do acid damage with the blades, which would be kind of really cool. All right, so this one is the Peacebreaker Cannons. The Remote Agent skill tree. Rafa equips shoulder-mounted Peacebreaker cannons, which fire enemies in front of him for duration, dealing kinetic gun damage. You can end Peacebreaker cannons early, partially refunding action skill cooldown. Okay. And then we got Apophos Lance. Equip Rafa's Apophos Lance, an offhand arm cannon. Did you see that? Not the shotgun. Over there, that in the corner. Do you see that? That's pretty cool. I like that. Reminds me of it's Overwatch. The sound guy had like a little gun that shut the sound waves. That was kind of similar to that. So it reminds me of that a little bit. But an offhand cannon decreases Rafa's gun handling, but allows him to fire piercing shock ordnance blast. Any unused charges when Apophos Lance ends are converted into action skill cooldown. You press the action skill to fire a piercing shockwave ordnance blast at enemies and consume a charge, or hold action skill to charge up Rafa's Apophos Lance for an increased damage, projectile size, and projectile speed at the cost of unused charges. Okay. I'm probably gonna beat the arc knives, honestly. That's what sold me on him, was the arc knives. I thought it was badass. I thought it was badass with the arc knives. So that's probably who I'm gonna go to. And last but not least is our badass Siren baddie of Borderlands 4. Vex. I've never started off playing as a Siren, and I don't think that's going to change anytime soon about me playing a Siren to start the game off with. As much as Sirens are really cool, I just don't think I'm going to. Alright, so our first one is Incarnate. The Vexcalation skill tree. She creates a phased explosion dealing damage to nearby enemies and fully restoring her health. While active, Vex can use Eldritch Blast and gains movement speed. Eldritch Blast, this is D&D? We play a D&D now with this? Eldritch Blast, fired an Eldritch Blast from her offhand, dealing damage to nearby enemies on impact, dealing gun damage, and reduces Eldritch Blast cooldown. You can incarnate early, partially refunding cooldown. Alright, so that is, what one was that one? Dead Ringer. Why are these so short? I would like to go through this a little more. Alright, so Dead Ringer. She gets clones. The fourth skill. Spawn a phase clone minion choosing Spectre or Reaper. Phase clones lose an ever increasing amount of health per second, and their damage type matches Vex's current attunement when spawned. Can spawn a Reaper that taunts enemies and deals melee attack damage, or Spectre that deals gun damage and cannot move. Huh. I mean, that could be interesting. You could do this one where they're stationary and just use guns, or you can do one that's melee and taunts it. I mean, that could be good. And the last but not least one for her is the Phase Falmer. So that's the Reaper. That's the Reaper. All right. This one is the Phase Falmer, which I thought about doing this too. Familiar. Basically, it's a familiar. It's like having a pet. Because I like having pets. I like doing the pet builds. I like doing those because I did that with Flack. I loved Flack because it was just I loved it, enjoyed it. But she's joined by her minion Trouble. When killed, Trouble respawn after a cooldown. So basically, all around the time, and it will respawn. So it's just like Flack's pets. You know, they were there all the time, and when they died, there was a cooldown. They would come back. Press the action skill to teleport Trouble, dealing damage in an area. Trouble then transforms into a badass, fully restoring health and gaining increased damage for your duration. Activating Phase Melee respawns Trouble if he's currently dead. Do we get to see him as a badass? That's it. Oh, poor good kitty. Good kitty. So we didn't get to see him transform. Oh, wait, is that it? No, that's it. That was it. But I'm excited. The one I'm going to be playing as is Rafa. I'm going to start off with Rafa and see how it goes and go from there. But we will be playing it on live, playing it with our buddy. So on September 12th, that evening when we both have time, we will be playing it. I'm going to play Rafa. I don't know who he's going to play as, but I am going to do a breakdown of each individual character so we can go through their skill trees and see what truly is there, because there's a lot, and I didn't want to go through that in an entire single video for each character, because then that video would be like 45 minutes long, if not longer. But remember, if you like the content, if you want to see more, make sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and we'll see you in the next one. Have a good one, y'all.